The Harry Potter books were a series of 7 books, written in the late 1990s through the 2000s. The first Harry Potter book was published in the United States in 1998 by Scholastic Inc. The author of the Harry Potter books is J.K. Rowling. The American version of the books is illustrated by Mary Grand Prix. Jamie Watson, a librarian who worked at the Enoch Pratt Library in Baltimore when Harry Potter was coming out, states,
What made them take off so much was that it was word of mouth. One kid would read it, and then another kid would read it, and then another kid would read it, and then another kid would read it.
When Scottish author J.K. Rowling came up with the idea for Harry Potter sitting on a train in London in the early 1990s, she never could have imagined just how successful this little idea would become. By the late 1990s, it became a worldwide phenomenon and changed the lives of many people. The books are about the life of a boy named Harry Potter who finds out he is a wizard. He attends a wizard school called Hogwarts in England where he meets friends Ron and Hermione. The series centers around Harry and his relationships with his friends while trying to defeat the evil wizard Voldemort who killed Harry's parents when he was a baby. Harry Potter became a name known worldwide. The books have been translated into 67 languages, selling 450 million copies in about 200 countries. The books became something that all races, genders, religions, and people could enjoy. America, however, accounts for about a third of the book sales. The Harry Potter books are also very popular in the United Kingdom, where the books take place. As of September 12, 2016, these books have grossed $7,473 million. The popularity of the books caught the attention of Hollywood. Warner Brothers paid $1 million for the rights to make movies of the first 3 books. Chris Columbus directed the first 2 Harry Potter movies, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. There were 8 Harry Potter movies made in total for all 7 books, with the last book being made into 2 parts. The Harry Potter movies are the most successful movie franchise in history, making $7,216 million in the box office. The Harry Potter books were so appealing to both children and adults. J.K. Rowling created very relatable, realistic characters that had flaws, just like everyone else. Hermione made being smart cool and showed people that intelligence and bravery makes you stronger. The heroes in Harry Potter are 3 kids that are overlooked and made fun of in school, but still become the heroes. That is something that was very appealing to people because although the characters were wizards, they were also very human. It showed that you don't have to be cool to be the hero of your story. The magic in the books was also like an escape from the real world where everything is about science. The magic gave people a sense that anything was possible. Rowling wrote her stories so realistically that readers could actually feel like they were going to Hogwarts as they read.
It didn't talk down to kids. It let the kids be smart, and it let the kids be different, and it didn't try to teach a lesson. It was just about fun and entertainment and kids being smart and kids doing things.
The first 3 Harry Potter books were released in the United States after they had already been released in the United Kingdom. Scholastic, however, had to move the publication dates up for the second and third book because many fans were going online to buy the second book from British websites. The last 4 Harry Potter books had midnight releases in Britain and America.
Well, like when the 3rd and 4th Harry Potters came out, people would have midnight, like the library would stay open until midnight so that you could get your book right when it went on sale. That had never happened before. Nobody was ever that excited about a book, and that's adult books, kids books, all books. Nobody had ever been like, I have to wait in line to get a copy of my book, like Harry Potter.
The final book was released in 2007, and the final movie was released in 2011. The books became so popular that fans would line up for hours to buy the latest Harry Potter book right when it was released. The Harry Potter books were able to generate excitement like books never had before. It became a social activity to go to the releases of the books with friends and dress up in costume and play trivia. Scholastic, the publisher of the Harry Potter books in America, had to print 5.3 million copies of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire for the release, when normally only 100,000 copies of books are printed for release. The library had to order many more copies of the Harry Potter books as well.
One of the things that libraries do is they take a look at how many holds there are. So if you order 250 copies of a book, you don't want more than 750 people on hold for it. We usually try not to have more than 3 people on hold for every one book. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. With Harry Potter, sometimes you had to buy 400, 500, 700 copies of the book.
Harry Potter broke records for the fastest-selling books in history. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix was the first book to break this record. Subsequently, it was broken by Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, selling 6.9 million copies in the first 24 hours. And then again by J.K. Rowling's final book in the series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. It sold 8.3 million copies within the first 24 hours of release.
Another thing that they did, Scholastic, the publisher, at about book 3 or book 4, is librarians always get copies of books called advanced reader copies. Mm-hmm. So it's a chance that librarians can read books ahead of time, and then they can talk them up before they come out, like, oh, I read this, it's going to be really good. They quit publishing those for Harry Potter because they didn't want anybody to get the advanced copy out at the same time. So they didn't even publish it all, because much as I'd like to say librarians are all good and awesome, lots of them were very unethical, and they would sell their advanced readers copies on eBay for like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars because they had Harry Potter before everybody else. Books have release dates, and most of the release dates are on a Tuesday. Like, everybody is supposed to put the book out on the shelf at the same time, but some of them are not that strict. And if the book lands in the library on a Friday, you'll go ahead and put it out on the shelf on a Friday. But with Harry Potter, they couldn't risk any of them getting out the day before, like the midnight release parties and things like that. So you would have to actually sign something that said, I swear, I promise, I am not going to put this book out before it goes on sale. And that had certainly never happened with a children's book before, and it really didn't even happen for that many adult books. So that was different too. It was very secret.
The Harry Potter books were able to get a whole generation reading.
Lots and lots and lots of parents who said, my kid has never read a book, and now they're reading Harry Potter. Lots and lots and lots of parents said that.
The millennials, the generation that were kids when the books were being released, are the generation that reads the most. Lots of kids who didn't normally read were reading Harry Potter.
Because it made reading cool, it made some people that didn't particularly like to read realize that reading could be fun. One of the things that I think is interesting about it is there's a whole group of kids that I've worked with a lot, which is people that don't like to read. And in the library world, they're called reluctant readers, but basically they're just people that don't like to read. And before Harry Potter, people thought that reluctant readers would only read a skinny book because they don't want to read, so they don't want to read anything fat. And Harry Potter proved that if you write a good story, it doesn't matter if it's 400 pages long. If it's good, people will read it. So it made big books not scary anymore. It made, series books not... Before, I think people also thought of series books like Nancy Drew or The Babysitter's Club. It made series books seem cooler. So basically, it just made people realize that... and made people that maybe didn't like to read realize that if you give me a good story, it's not reading that I don't like, it's most of these books are boring that I don't like.
Many adults that had never read a book in years were brought to reading again because of these books as well.
After about book 3 or 4, that's when the grown-ups decided that they were going to try and figure out what was going on. I heard from 2 different librarians who said that their husbands never read books and they started reading Harry Potter and they liked Harry Potter. I think everybody needed to read it because everybody needed to talk about it, because everybody was reading the same book. That hadn't happened in a long time either. Maybe you would all be reading the same book if you got it assigned for school.
The Harry Potter books also changed literature today. These books got very dark as the series progressed and had a lot of violence in them. Carolyn Corbin, a fan who grew up reading Harry Potter, says on how the books have changed children's books, I think it's made kids' literature a lot darker, in a good way. It allows kids to deal with more stuff. It definitely deals with very broad issues. It showed that kids aren't dumb and kids like to read that stuff. I think it's expanded the young adult fiction genre tremendously.
Right now, like, even though Harry Potter's really for, well, teenagers read it, but it's, a little bit younger than that. But, like, if you go to our teen collection in the library, I bet there's as many adults reading it as kids, as teens. And I think that it showed parents that kids' books could be good, and maybe they had never thought about it that way.
Many adults also began to read children's books. Series books also grew very much in popularity.
I think if it wasn't for Harry Potter, because of Harry Potter being so popular, that made Twilight be so popular, and it made The Hunger Games be so popular, that everybody is ready for another book that makes them feel like the excitement that Harry Potter made people feel. And nothing has ever matched it, but it made books and reading cool in a way that it had never been.
Mm-hmm. Many books released today also have an aspect of fantasy or magic in them.
One of the biggest things that Harry Potter changed was, before Harry Potter, the New York Times Book Review only had 2 book reviews. It had hardcover bestsellers and paperback bestsellers. Harry Potter was so popular that it was dominating the bestseller lists above any adult book that was being sold. It was the most popular book by far that was being sold. So the New York Times readers didn't like that. They're like, get your kids' books out of my bestseller list. So they had to create a children's bestseller list so that the adult books could take back over the bestseller list. And then there was this own children's bestseller list. But what's cool about that is, as Harry Potter ended, the children's bestseller list didn't. So now you still get a children's bestseller list in the New York Times, and you still get to see what kind of things people are reading. So again, I would imagine before Harry Potter, I wouldn't know what children's bestsellers would be, but my guess would be that they would have been more like classic stuff that just has stayed in print, like Dr. Seuss or Beverly Cleary or things like that. And now new children's books are given attention like they absolutely positively never were before. Before Harry Potter, I think audiobooks were looked at as cheating. Like, well, if you're listening, you're not really reading. That's kind of cheating. Or, you're not smart enough to read, you have to listen, or, something like that. And those Harry Potter books are so good that it turned a lot of people on to not only the story that they might not have read, but audiobooks, which they might not have listened to.
The release of the Harry Potter movies also brought changes in the film world. The movies were so well done and true to the books that they were able to prove that movies of books can be done well. The movies became so popular that the film industry started to turn more children's series books, such as Narnia and Percy Jackson, into big movies, hoping to obtain the same success as the Harry Potter movies had. In some ways, Harry Potter was actually able to bring more empathy into culture today as well. As stated by Carolyn Corbin, I think it's definitely brought more of an acceptance factor. It's highlighted the concept of supremacy, which I think that's the second book that deals with supremacy issues. It's dealt with equality versus the way you're born and the way you're raised kind of thing. I think it's brought sensitivity to the media, to be honest. The books deal with prejudice. It shows that it doesn't matter how you're born or who your family is. People who read the book as a child can be more accepting of all people because in the books Harry had to deal with these things. Also, the spells used in Harry Potter books often use Latin roots in their incantations, and this has brought a fascination with language to many readers. The made-up words in Harry Potter are also very widely known, according to librarian Jamie Watson.
Even if you haven't read the books, I feel like it's like Star Wars would be another similar thing. Those words are just out there. People know what Quidditch is, and they know that Slytherin is bad. And somebody mentioned yesterday, he who should not be named. People say that all the time. That it changed words, and now we use those words like everyday language, and you can't think of very many books that actually change the way that people talk.
The ideas in Harry Potter have become household words that you don't have to have seen the movies or read the books to know about.
People making crafts about it, drawing, writing their own stories, all the fan fiction and stuff like that. It really, the book was just a starting point for all that other stuff.
The Harry Potter books take place in Britain and are written by a British author, so they are very British books. As stated by Miss Corbin, it definitely changed tourism in Britain. You could go into any British town, like country town or city, and this scene from Harry Potter was filmed here. I think it definitely helped bring a lot of British culture to America because it's a very British book. The language of the first 3 Harry Potter books were Americanized by Scholastic, the U.S. publisher. However, after realizing that fans enjoyed the British culture, they hardly changed any words in the last 4 books. The Harry Potter books have had a very big impact on the world in many ways. The entire Harry Potter franchise made over $24.8 billion. Harry Potter has changed literature, language, movies, and American culture. It turned many people to reading. Since the last Harry Potter book was published, no book or series has had as significant of an impact on popular culture as J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter.